I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 2 of the CRU Podcast, giving a voice to the enthusiasts. We're here today with special guest Aiden, who's actually on the CRU media team.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
And we have Marco, a fellow photographer in the space. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you.
So we appreciated all the comments and feedback we got from episode 1. You guys obviously were part of hearing that too. We talked about Officer Hermes. We talked about the RCMP in general, VPD, and more so policing and how they view enthusiasts, how they view our community on the street, and just kind of how we feel about it. I have 2 people here that have recent situations that we can really dive into detail with. So I appreciate you guys both coming on here. Aiden, why don't we start with you? You were saying before we got started here that you've had a recent run-in. I'd love to hear more about that, man.
Yeah, so back in March, it was actually like the first day of spring break for me coming out of school. I was coming back over the 91, going over the bridge, and I thought it was pretty clear there. We're going a little bit fast, but after the bridge there's like a turn, and then I ended up with an excessive speeding ticket at the end of the day and a 7-day impound. He got me on laser through his passenger window facing the other way, which I was a little bit questionable about. So the ticket has been disputed, and we'll find out when I'll have court. But I've also had a vehicle inspection on my car, a box 1 and a box 2.
What car?
My Jetta.
The Jetta?
Yeah,
Okay.
It used to be loud
Yeah.
and straight piped and tinted out and all that good stuff. But I got a box 1 actually, but it was on private property, surprisingly. I didn't know at the time because it was in a parking lot that I could have just probably told him to leave me alone. But that was a little bit of a hassle for me. So
Interesting. Going back to the excessive speeding.
yeah.
How much over did he say you were going?
He said I was allegedly doing 147 in a 90
147 and 90.
kilometers an hour.
Is that an impound?
Yeah, so that's actually like he said I was doing like 3 off from 60 over.
Okay.
Which would have been a 30-day impound,
Yeah.
but I ended up with just 7 days because of that. That's what he got on his laser.
Okay. And you're disputing that one?
Yeah, that ticket's being disputed.
I'm just interested to see how that goes. To see what happens in court.
It's also a strategic move for me because I have my class 5 test coming up in November.
Okay.
I won't have court until then. Knock on wood. Because if it's disputed, it's not on my record. So I'm still eligible to take the test.
Great.
And then if I take it, then I won't lose my license after that. So.
Because there's a lot of penalties if you haven't got your full license yet, and.
Yeah, on your end, if you get an excessive speed, they're most likely going to take it from you. So.
Okay. Well, who's doing our media footage if that happens? All right.
Well, I'll be standing out of the car.
Marco, you were mentioning as well you've had some recent run-ins or stuff that's happened in the past. What happened with you?
I was on Marine Drive down by White Rock Beach.
Yeah.
And I may have been going a little fast, may have not been. And I just see this black SUV just sitting in the parking lot there, almost like he was just waiting for someone to be going a little bit too fast. And next minute the lights come on and pulls me over. I was going 70 in the 30 supposedly. And then
Did you know it was a 30?
Yeah, I knew it was a 30, but I didn't think I was going that fast, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I thought I was going a little bit slower than that. Yeah. And luckily, I talked my way out of it, and he let me off with a warning.
Whoa. What car?
I was in my Mazda.
The small Mazda SUV.
Yeah. And, so, I mean,
I got pulled over in my dad's Durango.
Yeah.
Oh, that black one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's a little bit more heat-seeking, though.
Slightly.
And I always say it sadly, it shouldn't depend, but it does depend on what you're driving at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we talked about in episode 1, wife driving the Tesla, got off pretty light with just a warning. I'm like, if I was driving it, just due to the stereotyping, racial profiling. Probably would have got a little bit more. If I'm doing 20 over in my car, the AMG, I'm probably getting a pretty brutal ticket, VI box. Like it's all going to come down on it.
Yeah.
But I'm still not putting on a front plate. It's fine. I'll pay those tickets. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Those are no points. Those are simple. I'll pay those $5 a year. I don't care. We're not drilling into the new bumper. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
With with episode 1, a lot of people want to know, how do we accountability with police was spoken about. What's right, what's wrong. It's such a gray area. Again, it's nothing. We're not here bashing police officers by any means, traffic police. We all have our opinions. We're not here to bash that situation. They have a tough job. They're always going to be seen as negative. If they pulled you over on a highway, come on, no one's going to be polite with them walking up to them.
Yeah.
I believe, and Rylan made a good point about this. Officer comes over in a lighter mood, willing to give a warning. You get that feeling. Person's going to be pretty compliant, and if they're not, they're just kind of a jerk in the first place. In all honesty, everybody I've ever spoken to, part of my circle, when they're pulled over, they're always honest. They're always just like, "Hey, what happened?" Like, yeah, apologize. And lots of them, and again, I point to it. It does depend on what they were driving. They're driving their daily driver or a family car or something, commuter. They usually get off with a warning. A lot of them, if they're driving their, modified whatever it is, they're not really getting off with anything lightly.
No, modified cars are definitely more targeted.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and it's how come you guys think it is that way? What is it about a modified car that stands out to a police officer that you're going to get pulled over? Because I know as soon as I'm on the highway, if I see a police car ahead, I'm going the slow lane. I'm going below the speed limit because I'm just like, I just don't need the hassle, man. I know I'm not doing anything wrong, but he's going to pull me over just to say I want to look at the car. I'll pop the engine and where's your, where's this, where's that? No front plate. Car's too loud. Car's too wide. Fenders, whatever he wants to say. It's like, this is going to be cool. So how come you think it's like that? Perception from police to enthusiasts.
I just feel like it's an easy kind of target to give tickets and VIs and all that, and obviously they have to meet their quota or whatever.
We talked about that.
Some
before.
people say,
yeah.
So that could be a reason why. Like you're not going to see a full exhaust system on like a normal Civic driving down the road, but if they see like a sports car or something, it's like, oh, like I could get a ticket there. You know what I mean? Get some money. Even
if it's just like a coupe, like a Civic Si. I feel like those would be targeted too, because I've got buddies that get pulled over in them all the time.
Yeah, it's whatever car that just looks like it's
yeah. If it's like got a sporty essence to the car,
any sort of sound, basically.
Sound, or even if it looks aggressive, they're just like oh, that car automatically must be fast. So then they think, oh, it's going faster than normal traffic because it's designed to go faster. But it's not necessarily the case. Most of the time they go slower, if not the same. Like I've seen plenty of high-end sports cars literally going 100 with cars like normal traffic passing like 130 on the highway. Yeah. They just chill.
Yeah. This came up on an off topic. It wasn't on the first episode, but the idea came up of in Canada and in BC, I don't actually know if it's Canada-wide, but they have the N, like you have to put your little N sign on the back of the car.
Graduated licensing program.
Yeah, the learners was first L, then you have an N, which stands for novice, new driver, whatever they phrase it as nowadays. If they've proved that theory works, putting on this magnet or sticker decal on the back of your car shows people you're a new driver and you have to be stricter or people need to be aware, whatever it is. They proved that concept works. They've had it for, I don't know how many years, like 15 years ago they put that in?
Something like
15,
that.
20 years ago?
Yeah.
So clearly they haven't taken it out by saying this wasn't effective. They're saying it's effective. They're forcing people to still do it. If that's the case, there should be a case made of how come you can't have another letter that can go on people's cars that have taken an advanced driving course so they're allowed to go 20 over. So if a police officer sees them driving and going 20 over, they see the S and just like, they're trained. Their car is capable of it. The driver who's driving it is capable of it. 20 over is perfectly fine. Newer cars brake far better than the 50s cars, which the speed limits were made back then. Nothing's changed. What's stopping them from implementing that?
Control, I want to say.
Control.
They're gonna... Well, it's good. They're gonna have to invest a lot of money into a system there to just produce those, and then hire also not instructors, like the people who take your test with you, those people are going to need to be trained also in higher speed interactions with vehicles and whatnot.
I know for myself, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
If I wanted to get that license, I'm perfectly fine paying an extra fee, covering all the costs of the course,
Oh, definitely.
and the extra fee for the instructor and the different license. I'm fine with paying that. I'd put in $1,000. I don't care for the next 15 years. If it's a 15-year license, I'll throw $1,000 in, do the training. Cool. See you later.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
Mhm.
S license. What speed?
Oh, yeah. I do that 200%. I just think that they don't want to put time and resources into something that's making them money already with the speed limits currently.
Yeah, so that was a talk in the first episode as well, is that there's actually a documentary that's about, how speed limits were invented as a ploy to keep them just low enough where they can give people tickets. It's actually a revenue stream.
Yeah.
Marco, we talked about this in the first episode. When was the last time you drove 50 and the speed limit, 50 kilometers an hour, keep in mind, 50 down a road that was open, no other cars, and you drove 50 for 15 minutes driving because you're like, nope, this is a speed limit. I'm driving 50.
I don't think I can remember the last time. But I do agree with you. It is a little bit of a money-making scheme in my personal opinion. But I did actually end up watching that documentary.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. And they definitely had a lot of good points in there. Like, I forget what the one road was called in Vancouver, where they'll just sit there, and I think it's a 50 or a 60.
Yeah.
And it's 3 lanes wide, and they just sit there and just pick people off all day.
Yeah, there's a few like that where you just know they're always going to be set up. That bridge going over to Vancouver as well, they sit on the edge of it.
For sure.
I was driving my car over there, start of this summer, VPD. The bikes were set up there. But I was taking the first exit off, and they were catching people going straight.
The Granville Street Bridge?
Granville Street. Yeah, it was Granville Street. Yeah,
I know exactly.
I was in the right lane, signaled right, and I saw 4 VPD police bikes parked there, and 2 of them looked as I turned right with the no front plate, the flashy car. I shut off the exhaust as soon as I saw them. I was like, boop, turn that off. And all I saw in the rear view, just talking the radio, and I'm like, they got someone down here too? That's not cool. What are they, catching the helicopter or the drone?
Yeah.
Right?
No, I had a buddy get a box one VI on that bridge.
Yeah, I think I know about 6 or 7 people that haven't all had box ones.
Yeah.
But they've all had tickets.
Yeah.
For whatever it was. The most common one was no front plate.
Yeah.
That's one thing in it's only a BC thing.
Yeah.
That is a Vancouver, BC, or BC in general. You have to have a front plate.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I know everyone watching this in the States or other countries is like, you have to have a front plate.
Yeah. There's certain states that like you're supposed to have one, but it's not nowhere in the world is it as heavily enforced as it is here.
Do you guys know the reason how come we need the front plate?
No.
So because I was with the RCMP, I asked the question to be like, what do you need that for? Because we were standing in the parking lot next to my old BMW, talking to one of my friends who was an officer, and he was like, you got no front plate? And I was like, I'm not putting one on either. And I was like, what do you even need it for? Because he wasn't trying. He's like, I don't care. He was in a specific department, like 20 years in the service kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's there because that's where radars catch you. They point the radar at your front plate. That's why you're not allowed a protective piece of film over it. You're not allowed the glass over it. You're not allowed the plastic over it. That's where they catch your radar. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but everywhere else in the world, they use your windshield.
Yeah.
Windshield works just as effectively. There's very, very few cars that it doesn't work on, they say, due to the slant of the windshield.
Yeah, if it's like I know some like super aggressive sports cars.
You can't do it.
Like Lamborghinis, like the Aventadors and the Huracans, the radar actually just slips over the car.
Yeah.
It's
too.
The color too can change how effective the radars are.
So everybody should drive chrome wraps.
Yep. Literally.
Right?
Yeah.
Reflect it back. How fast were you going, sir?
Yeah.
I always give that smart aleck reply. Comes over. You know how fast you're going? Apparently not as fast as you. You caught up to me. No, but front plates, that's a different thing. When we go to the speed limits, it does feel like it's a little bit of a money grab. If you're driving, if it's a 50 zone and you're going 65, I still don't feel like I'm moving very much going 65. It's such a slow speed. The one speed limit I'm perfectly fine with going by is the school zone 30, the park zone.
Yeah.
I'm that guy. Like I got 3 kids. I got 2 dogs. I'm out there all the time walking around. We got a park zone down the bottom of the hill. Everyone rips through it doing 60, 70. I'm a parent, and I know like you want to protect kids, people walking their dogs. That's the one speed limit I'm not okay with. Especially especially the stop signs by the school. People blow through those all the time. They don't want to stop them. Like to take the extra 2 seconds. There's a lot of rules for. That's why we need policing, right? You need it. I'm perfectly fine. Actually, I got a bit of a hilarious story when I worked for the RCMP. I lived in Cloverdale, which was in Surrey, and there was a stop sign on before all the major development happened. It was more of a farm road. There was a 4-way stop sign. Now it's developed into a full traffic system because the city expanded, right? Mm-hmm. But it was a stop sign, and I used to see people blow through that stop sign all the time. And I was the one that stopped at it because there was a school around the corner, smaller school, but there's still kids around sometimes. But I would just stop and be like, "What's the big deal? Just come to a stop and then take your turn." I was like, I don't understand what people's rush is all the time. Mm-hmm. And I go to work, which I answer the 911 calls at the RCMP, and we joked about it. And then I saw they were setting up members at different stop signs where people are not stopping and giving people warnings, basically. Be like, just settle down, slow down. And I was like, that's what you need to do. You don't necessarily give every person you stop a ticket, but a reminder like, hey, there's a school there, keep it down. And it helps that person be like, hey, you know what? It just takes an extra 2 seconds. I should just slow down for a second. Yeah. A few weeks later, I believe in the law of attraction. Law of attraction to me. I'm going to that same stop sign in my area. Mm-hmm. There's no cars there. It's the middle of the day, or it's it's like 11 a.m. I know there's no cars in that area at that time. I get there, I look left, look right, but I kind of roll through. Mm-hmm. And just as I take the turn, there's a motorcycle cop in the bushes. And I'm like, oh my God. Throws on the lights, comes over, pulls me over. And I'm like, this is the stupidest thing because I'm one of the people that would have supported him being here. Yeah. So he came over. I recognized him. He didn't recognize me straight away because, I seen him in the gym. We got an award together for this really massive call we took. But that's where I got to talk to him in person. Mm-hmm. He's a senior sergeant, so I was kind of surprised to see him on the road in the first place. And he comes over and he's like, hey, we're doing checks for a stop sign. He just kind of rolled through, man. You got to come to a stop. I was like, I know, I appreciate it. And he's like, unfortunately at this point, I do have to give you a ticket. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I was told you guys were giving warnings, but how do I bring this up to you that we work together? Yeah. I was like, all right, I should just accept it. I rolled through, not a big deal, $100 or $90 ticket, it would have been big deal. And then he's writing out the ticket. He's like, where are you off to? And I'm like, oh, to work. Where do you work? And I was like, okay, I'm not going to lie here. I was like, I work at, Surrey Detachment or RCMP. And he looks at me, he's like, oh, we did that call together, and we start chatting as he's like writing out the ticket. And I'm like, he's still writing the ticket. Come on, bro, man, come on. as he gives it to me, and he's just like, here you go. And he gives me there's 2 sheets he gives me, and I'm like looking at it. He's like, I gave you both pieces, and I was like, okay. It's like the carbon copy piece as well that he's supposed to keep. Yeah. He's like, I already started writing it, so I just want to finish it, but you have both pieces. Okay. And he was like. Slow down in the future. You can do what you want with that. But I tell you what, you owe everybody in the department a cup of coffee. And I was like, he's like, your money's better spent there. That's $50. Yeah. This is $90. Make up for it there. Don't do this again. I was like, sir, no problem. I was like, I deserve something. But to me, I've had some interactions like that. Of course, that happened because he recognized me. If he didn't, I probably would have got the regular ticket. But it shouldn't have to, the positivity of that relationship that was built, that he was, it was a lighter conversation. He was lots of other people he gave warnings to, because we spoke about that at the detachment a week later when I saw him. He's like, I give warnings, I'm trying to be nice, just trying to keep people safe. That creates a positive impact. It still gets the job done, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't know the stats, mind you, but if you're used to rolling through stop signs and suddenly you get a warning from an officer in your area that you shouldn't, are you saying you're going to carry on doing it because you got away with it?
No. Usually, what he's doing is I feel like that's more effectively giving back to the community by educating the people he's pulling over and giving them warnings, saying like, hey, we want to really make sure you're stopping at stop signs for these safety reasons and whatnot. I know you didn't go through it very fast, but I'm stopping you to just educate you on that subject. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's good for giving back to the community, and that creates a more positive relationship between the drivers of the road and the traffic police.
Yeah. Marco, what do you think?
I feel like it's more effective and people might listen more, because I don't know, but me personally, if I have someone coming up my window yelling at me or grilling me over running through a stop sign, compared to someone who's approaches you way more kinder and soft spoken and maybe just walks you through the steps of this is the safety, this is blah blah. I feel like people would listen more to that than someone who's just coming at you getting all mad.
Yeah.
Tickets and all that. So
what do we think about these new drones they're using to check people on their phones?
Oh, I saw it. Was that Delta?
Yeah.
Delta
PD.
I don't. That's new to us here. I don't know about people watching online being
Yeah.
like, we've seen the drones and it's more common. I will say the first time I experienced, it wasn't a drone. They said they had a helicopter in the air down in Seattle,
Yeah.
and I got caught doing, I think it was 140 kilometers an hour, which was I think 30 over there. I think it's
Yeah.
110 kilometers on the highway on the I-5, just below BC border.
Yeah, it's like 70.
70 miles an hour. I think
Yeah.
you're allowed to go. So I was driving through and. Along as I'm driving slow now, I'm just cruising because it was a little bit of a windy road. I was speeding. I accepted the ticket. I was like, no big deal.
Yeah.
But as he caught me, I was driving the speed limit. That's why I saw him coming on the on ramp, and I was like, okay. And I carried on going, and then he put his lights on, and I was like, what the? I was like, what happened here? Then he came up. He told me, he's like, we have a helicopter in the air. We caught you doing,
so they
down the
basically,
bends. And I was like, oh wow. I was like, you guys got smart, okay. But I accepted that ticket because I was like, I was speeding. Yeah, I just, and we spoke for a minute. He was friendly about it. He was like, yeah, head home. This is how you paid, blah, blah, blah. But that was the first experience with like, they actually might have something there. The drone, that's an expensive piece of technology, man.
Yeah. It's like 10 G's for that type of drone.
So how many tickets does it take to break even? I'm a business guy, okay?
I feel like it might not be that bad compared to cost per minute of flight on a helicopter.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that is true.
And if it's being funded obviously by the government, then
But in terms of like either one, is it going to be helicopter or?
I think
Or drone?
it'll be drone mainly, and then they'll have like a unit on the ground that's close by.
But how? But to the public, how is that acceptable?
I don't know. It's like
use.
being like
Yeah.
spied on. I feel weird.
It is. I saw that interview. Dude was like, I can count the hairs on your nose with our drone, and I was
Yeah.
like, what does that even say to somebody?
Yeah.
Like we got these flying around in the air right now. Like what else are they looking at?
Yeah, you going through people's windows, buddy?
Yeah, I hope not. Nah. I mean, I feel like it would be a useful piece of technology if it's put into a different task. Because they might just be drones that have these high definition zoom cameras.
But using it for traffic, that's
Yeah.
that's just abuse, man.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah, because it probably gets used for like finding missing people. It also has a thermal camera on it. I guarantee you.
It can
They
be
use
used
it
for
scouting locations.
like there's
for things.
hostage situations that
Yeah.
happen. People barricade doors. They're threatening.
Mm-hmm.
Using different pieces of technology for that, it makes sense. You're
Yeah.
protecting the community. You're trying to do something right. Trying
Mm-hmm.
to find somebody purposely that they touched their phone while they were driving,
Mm-hmm. It's
or they're
petty.
doing. Yeah, it kind of comes across as petty,
Mm-hmm.
man. It's like I get it if I'm caught doing 160 or something, and where I'm like flooring it, and I get caught, I'm accepting the ticket, whatever happens, because that's on me. But if I'm doing 120, which technically is 30 over on some parts of the highway,
Yeah,
but
20
it's
over
not
on some, or would you say 120 or 130?
like 120.
Yeah,
It's like 30 over on some
that's
parts
like
of the
flow
highway.
of traffic most of the time here.
Yeah.
Most of the time it is. You go to the further you go out east here,
Mm-hmm.
the higher the speed, the higher the natural speed goes. 'Cause
Yeah.
every time I have to drive to Vancouver, I'm like, why are people driving 80?
Yeah.
Like the road, the highway's empty. Move out of the way.
Yeah.
Over
That-
this way, it's 120, 130. You go to the Coquihalla, people doing 140, 150, and everybody's doing it. I understand the speed limit there is still 110 or maybe it goes up to 120.
Yeah, 120, I believe.
Yeah, but people are still doing 150. I remember I was doing 150 on cruise control and cars were flying by me, and I was like, I didn't realize people drove this fast on this road. But
Yeah, I've gone pretty fast on the highway.
Yeah.
before.
yeah, exactly. Like when I have the kids with me, I naturally drive slower just because
Mhm.
I'm a dad at the end of the day. But when I'm driving on my own, I'll drive 150, 160.
Yeah.
And again, we go back to the newer cars
It
and
feels
more
comfortable.
training. Yeah. But I got to go back to the drone because
Yeah.
at what point do let's phrase it as traffic police, because it's not all police, not
Yeah.
general duty
Traffic
police.
department.
Yeah, they're not exactly using it for the wrong intention.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're purposely going out of your way to get something, to catch people doing something so small, and I say so small because they're giving tickets to people doing 10 over, 15 over, touch their cell phone.
Seatbelt.
Seatbelt's a big one.
I feel like seatbelt.
HOV lane, yeah, that's a
I
big
feel like
one.
seatbelt's a good thing to enforce, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't think you need a $10,000 drone for that though.
No, not for that.
I'd say I'm with Mark on that one.
Not for the drone, but I feel like seatbelt tickets should be still enforced. That's
Yeah.
like one thing that I feel like is like a safety system that's like actually there that you should be wearing.
Yeah.
100%.
Actually, no, I know someone that they were in a car. It was a convertible Z3. They weren't wearing seatbelts
Oh.
and hit the curb and flipped it. took out a couple of trees on 64th by 152nd. Took
Oh.
out a couple of trees, but the entire roof, because it was a soft top, was completely crushed. So it, the windshield and everything was completely caved. It was straight.
Mm-hmm.
They survived because they weren't wearing seatbelts.
Did they fall out of the car? When it's
No, they fell into the kind of like slouched down. They fell into the wheel well area. That's the only reason
Oh.
they survived. Otherwise, they would have been, if they had seatbelts,
they
they
would've
couldn't
been
slide
smushed.
down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a super
That's a rare
unique, rare
Yeah,
occurrence. But just to throw it out.
Yeah, they should have roll bars in those cars.
They should have roll bars in every convertible. I
Yeah.
should say that.
Definitely.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't support drone use. I can't
Yeah.
support abuse of power because
Yeah.
it's, if traffic police were there to stop the aggressive people or the people driving way too slow or the
Mhm.
people, like that cut people off very, very close, not signaling, just, that aggressive maneuvers
Mhm.
like that, those cause accidents.
Yeah.
They cause anxiety and stress to the person. It doesn't have to be a senior person, to
Yeah.
anybody who's just,
Yeah, at that point you're encroaching on another driver, and you may know what you're doing. You may be a better driver than you so claim,
Mhm.
but it's still gonna freak out other people if you're doing stuff like that.
I just see it as dangerous. When I'm driving for fun on the highway, I still signal. I will overtake cars and go left and right a little bit, but I always keep a gap. I always
Yeah.
keep some space. I'll never want to cut someone off and make them slam the brakes, because I don't know if they got kids in the car. They got dogs that are going to fall over because they had to pump the brakes. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with police enforcing that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Police enforcing if you're going 5 or 10 over,
That's
or even up to
ridiculous.
20 or 30 over, because it just doesn't make sense nowadays, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when we come back to the aggressiveness of, again, Hermes and Officer Kane of VPD and RCMP, two different jurisdictions, two different police departments.
Yep.
It kind of feels like they're best friends. And
A little bit.
Hermes, like we said in episode 1, I don't believe he's traffic police. Kane is.
Mhm.
I believe he's actually on the
Kane-
motorbike.
I thought Kane retired.
Did he retire? Oh,
Yeah.
his.
Yeah.
Who's his second in charge? Can't remember his
I
name.
don't know who that
Doesn't matter the
is.
name,
Yeah.
but there's a replacement
Yeah.
for Officer
Officer
Kane, who
Kane,
may not
yeah.
be as aggressive. I haven't heard any stories
Mhm.
recently, but at those points, their only job is to go after any sort of loud exhaust.
Yeah.
And if they're going after the really crappy exhaust that's thrown on a terrible car and it's just super loud and obnoxious, sure, you go ahead.
That was my car, for everybody wondering.
But if it's, they're going after, now I take issue with, and I'm sure you guys would both agree, there are situations where they will go after the Honda Prelude that has an exhaust, but it's not super loud.
Yeah, it's just like a tuner exhaust.
It's a tuner exhaust. It's basic. It doesn't sound obnoxiously loud. Or any, Golf GTIs or, 370Zs, 350Zs, like they have a sporty sound, but they're not aggressive. They're not like waking up neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But then I see certain supercars
Mm-hmm.
driving around, lighting up the streets. Actually, they're not getting pulled over.
Mhm.
They're being left alone. And there's a certain group out of Vancouver that actually get escorted
Yeah.
around the streets by VPD because they donate to them.
Yep.
Right? I don't know. I can't agree with the double standard
Yeah.
that just because they donate
You think they're
to,
buying their privilege there?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that can't make sense. And that's what a lot of the issues come along with. It's like, how do the rich people
Mhm.
get away with this? But I'm just trying to enjoy a hobby,
Yeah.
an expensive hobby as it
Mhm.
is, but my personal hobby, and you're not allowing me to enjoy it, even though my car is actually legal.
Mm-hmm.
My car is perfectly safe for the road, but you want to pick on it
Yeah.
because, maybe, the gentleman's young.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys are younger. How old are you?
19.
We're both 19.
Yeah, you're 19.
Yeah.
So putting money into cars is expensive
Mhm.
at your age. You throw on a new set of rims,
That's a huge purchase.
that's a huge purchase,
Yeah.
right? And if it's slightly too wide, you're gonna get pulled over for, now they're not fitting in your wheel well officially, and they're gonna break out the measuring tape on you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So at what point, like, you're the younger generation,
Mhm.
right? At what point are you okay with being pulled over?
I feel like if I'm breaking a a driver violation, because there's difference between a vehicle violation and a driver violation, and you can get pulled over for both of them. Because like with the vehicle inspection stuff,
Mhm.
that is, you're being pulled over because the police officer either heard or saw something in a car and they think your vehicle is not fit for road use. And then you have your driver infractions, which is like your speeding, reckless driving, stunt driving, all that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm definitely would be fine being pulled over if I was doing like 30 over, like at the speed limit. And also, it's because the thing is, it's so subjective because time of day, where you're driving, the road conditions. Like if it's like say noon on like a Saturday somewhere, and there's obviously gonna be traffic, you're gonna be probably gonna want to be a little bit tighter on your enforcement due to the fact that there's more people on the road to make it safer from a cost perspective. But if it's like say like 3 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, absolutely dead, and there's a car, say you're a police officer doing speed or whatever, and I'm doing like 30 kilometers an hour over, there's nobody on the road. Like I don't see that as a endangerment to especially like the roads or public safety, because that's really what they're there for, traffic police. Is to make sure that public safety stays intact and that everyone's like, you know, behaving themselves so that no one gets hurt on purpose, or they're trying to prevent all bad situations that could happen.
But you can't paint every situation with the same brush. As
Exactly,
saying,
yeah,
right?
because that's why it's all subjective depending on the situation.
It's subjective, but I know, having started off the process going into the RCMP, and one of the reasons I failed the exam a couple of times was my staff sergeant said, "I'm too gray. You think too much about every situation. Is it breaking the law or is it not breaking the law? That's your decision. That's it. It doesn't matter what law it is. They broke it. There's a situation to deal with now." I remember one of the questions on there was something along the lines of, I work at a grocery store as a cashier, and I notice a fellow employee taking $100, but I know that fellow employee is using it because they need money for their child, for groceries for that week, and they're putting the money back once they get their paycheck the next week, but they're too afraid to ask their supervisor for it. So like, what do you do? And it was a multiple choice. There was an option saying you go directly to your supervisor and report the theft. And I was like, oh, it's aggressive. I was like, because it was a single mom. They're trying to ploy at your emotional strings, right? Yeah. Or there's the option I chose was I would approach the employee and have a talk with them and lead into a conversation with the supervisor to discuss alternatives. That was the wrong choice.
Just go straight to them?
Go straight to the supervisor and report the theft and let management deal with it and fire the person if they deem to be fired. And I talked with my staff sergeant about that specific question, so I remember it. And he was like, "Yeah, they broke the law. They stole from a place." And I was like, "Doesn't it matter, the situation they were in and how we can help their situation?" And he was like, "It's not for you to decide. It's for police to decide." And I was, or police or the management if they want to press charges. And I was like, in all honesty, that happened to me. And I went to tell a supervisor, and she got fired, and they pressed charges against her. And I'm like, that's because of me.
Yeah.
I'd feel terrible, man. Like she was, took some money to pay her child. Maybe she needs to make better decisions elsewhere, whatever it is. I don't know. But I know there's an avenue that person can be helped. They're working. They're trying to provide a living. So I know that's part of the training. They need people who are going to be very black and white. Even if in real life situation, they'd let the officer make a different decision. That's the training they want people to go through. Yeah. That they know there's a law broken, you have to go and do it. So if you're driving at 3:00 in the morning, driving a little bit quick, and you get pulled over, you're going to get the same VI box or a tow impound, whatever it is, even if you're doing it at noon in the middle of the day when it's actually dangerous because there's lots of cars on the road.
Yeah. They want to keep consistency, I can see.
Yeah.
For that, yeah.
So, I don't know. If we touch on, you've seen the video of Officer Hermes and the parking lot. Yeah. We talked about that in episode 1. Wanted your view on it, as a big member of the enthusiast scene here as well, and yourself, photographer, doing lots of work for these people. What's your opinion of what you saw and how you actually interpret it?
I feel like it was maybe a little bit aggressive, and I definitely think it could have been dealt with differently from what I saw in the video. And maybe the person did something wrong. I don't know exactly what he was
apparently
enforcing.
They were getting a violation for 3 hours of loud music in their car, driving around a neighborhood, not just a parking lot, apparently the neighborhood.
I feel like even like that ticket is you're not really like harming anyone. You're not endangering anyone at all. I feel like you can come in to that situation as a police officer way more calm about it. Maybe even just talk to the guy, like, turn your music down. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was said before he got the ticket or whatever.
Yeah.
And then after, when they asked him for his badge number and name and all that, when he just declined to mention that, I feel like that's where it got out of hand, and like police definitely need to.
Yeah. Then he like threw the paper.
Yeah.
At the guy.
Like,
well,
I feel like there's definitely way better. You're a grown man, you know.
Yeah.
You have to.
But in the aftermath of it, what responsibility was it to the police officers, like you're saying? Because now they're saying those, I can't remember how many East Indian kids were there or used. They're 18, 19 years old, I think the age bracket was. They're saying they're now facing deportation because they're here on, like, you know, student visas and stuff like that.
I feel like that's just news propaganda. There's no way that kids are, because I'm pretty sure it was at Krispy Kreme at Strawberry Hill where that happened. Yeah. There's no way kids on like foreign exchanges and stuff like. I bet you they're all Canadian citizens.
I would venture that a lot of them are, anyways.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if the complaint is that the kids, you know, they were, you know, jumped in front of the police car because were very upset at him for how the officer treated them. It's like, what responsibility is that of the police officers? You know, if he's at a busy day or a frustrating day, I get it. But because you're wearing that badge, I'm sorry, you need to reset yourself after every call you do. You have to. It's a very difficult thing for officers to do. I've been through it. You take a 911 call. We had a hostage situation. You know, a kid's life is at stake. You save it. You're taking a deep breath. You're like, geez, man, that was a rough call. And then the next call you take, someone saying, hey, my bike got stolen. Do I report that to you? And I'm sitting there just like, oh, you have no idea the call we just dealt with. You know, I got people in tears over in dispatch over what just happened. You're asking if your bike was stolen. Okay, your bike was stolen. Hold, I'll take a call in a second. You have to just be professional and be like, okay, I got to deal with this now. And then I got to deal with this. And then now there's a domestic abuse I got to deal with. And now there's somebody that wants advice on how to, whatever it is. As police officers on the ground as well, you deal with a lot of that. You know, that's why complete respect to the police force. You have to bounce from, you know, being at level 10 down to level 1, level 10, and you have to reset it. He came to that call level 10, let's just say. He was, all the videos, he's very upset.
He's already heated.
He's already heated because he just, for some reason, he doesn't like enthusiasts. I think there is racial profiling going on as well for him pulling in the parking lot. Or here's the East Indian kids again. You know, I'm going to deal with this once and for all. Kind of seems like a little bit of an ego situation going on, abusing the badge. I'm not a fan of it because I see how he acted in that video, and I'm like, you basically caused the reaction from this crowd of people. You provoked that action.
This isn't the first time Hermes has striked either. He already has a pretty decent track history.
And that's why it's come up so
in the Surrey area, for sure, in that area, definitely why it's come up more. But I feel like if he got to take some accountability and understand that he has now this reputation when dealing with our group of people, with the car enthusiasts and people like that in our area, because he should know going into that they already have a negative sort of view on who he is.
They have negative perception.
Yeah, negative perception on him, and he could be making some efforts to sort of join our community and become like an active part of it and still be enforcing the law, and then he'll make more friendships and
community will work.
Yeah, we're gladly willing to work with you. Or, if you're listening, we'll work with you. Like, we just
reach out to CRU.
Yeah.
But it's like when we go to the meet on Thursday nights that they have over in Pitt Meadows. There's always an officer there. A lot of the time it's the same one. But he comes, hangs out, makes friends with people. A car pulls in.
He's awesome.
Aggressively loud, and he comes over to say, hey, just keep it down. I'm not doing anything here, but the car's way too loud for streets. And it is. The owner of that car and you is just like, yeah, don't worry. But they make friends. They have a laugh together. He took some CRU merch from us. You know, you make friends with that person. That gives a very positive perspective, especially from the enthusiasts. That we right now, like a high percentage of enthusiasts just feel like they're targeted.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what they did. Doesn't matter. Naturally, it doesn't even matter their skin color anymore. It's just like it's like racial profiling on the car, not who's driving it anymore. It's just like, I don't like that car. It's too loud. It looks too fancy. I'm going to go give it a ticket or pull it over at least. That's the way enthusiasts feel right now. Doesn't matter if it's stock. We all heard the story of that guy that bought the Porsche. from the
Yeah.
dealership downtown and got a ticket for his car being too loud. It's
There's
like,
also a stock C8 got impounded too. Or not impounded, got towed.
for
from-
what? I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, this was in Strawberry Hill too.
Oh, really?
Stock C8
yeah.
Corvette got a box 1 VI.
For
Exhaust.
See, the stories get sillier and sillier. I understand that officer may not know that car is
Yeah.
factory,
Mm-hmm.
but if it's factory, it clearly is not going to. I don't know. Maybe they need more training and experience, but it's not going to sound like a modified exhaust. You
Yeah.
modify the exhaust, okay, it can be a lot
You
louder
can
now.
tell when it's stock versus not stock most of the time.
We're enthusiasts. We
That's
can
true.
speak from our
Yeah.
viewpoint. That's where there needs to be a gap.
Yeah.
Or the gap needs to be closed between policing
Mhm.
and the subjective view of just because you see a modified car or whatever it is doesn't mean they're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
You know, we've had the talk with plenty of friends. They're like, you know, if it's late at night, I'm going to drive the speed limit. I'm actually being pulled over for driving slow because now I'm suspicious. Driving a
Mhm.
sports car, driving slow at night. That's kind of
Yeah.
the realm it's falling into.
Mm-hmm. And even like I'm not sure where everywhere, but because we're from White Rock, and they are very very strict on the car rules there.
Noise,
The
especially.
noise,
Out there.
yeah, it's
That's the beach city here.
yeah,
for
it's
those
more
that
of an
don't know.
elderly community.
Yeah.
It's like more retirement and stuff there. But we've had some issues with cops literally setting up a booth on Marine Drive at the beach there.
Yeah.
Literally says vehicle inspection booth,
Yeah.
and they just and because you can't turn anywhere at that point, if you're going down there and they just point to you, they just go, "Ooh," and you join the queue. They had
Yeah.
a queue of like 6 or 7 cars there.
I think that was a
To get-
couple years ago.
Yeah,
right? So,
roadside section.
Yeah.
This was last summer.
What was it? Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to think. There was another thing I was gonna say about White Rock, but I forgot.
They always
So-
they'll hide behind like signs or like
Yeah.
electricity boxes. Like there's that one road close to our neighborhood there,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like this electricity box next to like some bushes, and then it's like a little side road, and then
off
main road.
152.
Yeah,
Yeah.
going down into Surrey there, and they'll just sit behind the box with the gun there, and then they just hit your speed, and yeah, even if you're going
Mhm.
like 10 over, 5 over.
There's a cop hidden a block up the street that pulls out right when you pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll ask you guys a question here,
Mhm.
and let's get a quick reply because I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is going to be.
Okay.
You see, let's say you see a 370Z modified loud exhaust driving down that road in Marine.
Mhm.
I assume you'd say it's probably going to be pulled over if there was a police officer there.
It's so bad that we go and sit on a bench and watch and count how many VIs are getting.
It's
It's bad.
But now here's the other scenario. Old school cars.
Mm-hmm.
Car from the 20s, 30s, 40s, restored. They're loud. They got these big engines.
Mm-hmm.
That's cruising down Marine Drive all the time. Again, it's usually a senior person that's driving. They've restored their car.
Yeah.
Is that car getting pulled over and getting a VI?
Unfortunately, not.
I feel like it's way less likely to get pulled over.
Yeah.
So how come? I'm the same opinion. How come?
I want to say, I feel like if the cop sees a younger person driving, they're obviously going to think immaturity. And then they're more likely going to think about, like, oh, they're probably going to do something stupid. They've purposely modified their car to look like this. But
Yeah.
old muscle cars, they were actually pretty decently loud when they came out. And I think that there's also more a respectful culture behind like restored muscle cars, because you can't drive those cars fast, and you can't around corners. Around corners.
I like it.
Around corners, like you can drive them quickly, of course, but you can't you don't normally see say like a young person who would like some spirited driving.
Mhm.
That's not their typical genre of car that they're gonna pick for that.
Yeah.
So I feel like they don't have that negative perception around those cars as much as you do with like 370Zs, G35s, like those entry level sports cars. That as soon as the kids get their end, you're gonna go wild in that car.
Yeah. You agree?
I feel, just a little bit backing off what Aiden said there. I feel like it's a little bit of profiling almost in a way, because like they'll see like a kid in a entry level sports car. They're like Aiden said, maybe this guy's gonna go do something stupid. He might be driving a little fast on his phone.
Yeah.
Might be overpacking with his end.
It's not just stereotyping though.
Yeah.
It's not based on evidence. It's based on the emotional reaction of previous perception
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
person went through. It's like saying, as silly as it is for me, I got 2 big dogs. Someone saying they're scared of a dog because then when they were a kid, a dog barked at them or a dog pushed them over. And I'm like, that was a different dog. This is this dog. How are you scared of every dog now? If you're a police officer, it's like saying, what they say is, well, I've heard that these East Indian kids are always up to no good, smoking weed or whatever it is, loud music, always causing disturbances. Here's a call. There's East Indian kids that are possibly causing disturbance. They're all getting tickets. See you later.
Yeah.
Because they just automatically go in with that aggressiveness, and that's what happened in that video that's gone viral now of what happened in that parking lot.
Yeah. They see stuff on the internet too.
Yeah.
That changes their perception. Because I bet you most of the time, no cops have even seen any of these cars doing anything crazy illegal on the street. They see videos in like the States or wherever of cars doing that at night and like whatever.
Taking over the traffic light circle. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Listen, I'm not approving that one. I've seen people get run over at that. I'm like, I'm not going through that.
I've seen videos of people just like fully flying because they get hit by a car.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Or if they're hanging out the window and they fall out and then.
Yeah, that's not safe.
Listen, they can all sign waivers, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not anybody's dad. I say it's unsafe though. But if the same class of old school cars aren't getting pulled over, this is where enthusiasts that drive sports cars or turn their car into a sports car, like mine is an AMG, but it's a 4-door sedan. It can be used as a family car too. I've turned it into an aggressive sports car, sure. But we get the worst treatment. But you drive an old school car, sorry, you're not getting the treatment I'm getting. You drive a motorcycle, a Harley Davidson, your car's way louder than mine. I'm sorry, my car's loud. If I open up the valves, I get it. Valves stay closed a lot of the time because of that. Harley Davidson, always louder.
Yeah.
Always louder. Pickup trucks.
They always put straight pipes on the Harley Davidson.
They're all straight pipes.
Yeah.
You have these diesel trucks that are, again, they sound like freight trains coming behind you. And I'm like, how is he not?
Those get VIs.
I'm yet to see. I'm in Chilliwack. There's a lot of trucks here. No one's getting pulled over, man.
They give them out in Langley.
They do? Okay. Well, I'm happier hearing that now. But is that the stereotyping of who's driving it?
Yeah. There's a lot of, like in Langley, Brookswood area, there's a lot of lifted, like, straight pipe diesel trucks and stuff. And the police are well aware that that's sort of the car culture there. They don't like the sports cars as much. They like their big diesels.
I know from police and experience, traffic department will get a lot of messages from neighborhoods that will complain that these certain type of cars are always out here in the cul-de-sac or by the park or whatever it is. And when I used to get the call and saying somebody lived by a public park, saying these kids are always here hanging out, and I would have to pause and watch what I say. And I'd pause and go talk to, staff sergeant to make sure. I'm like, they're just sitting around talking. And he's like, are they making a disturbance? And I'm like, well, no, but the person doesn't like them being there because they have, sporty cars and they're young. I'm like, that doesn't sound right to me. Yeah. And he would say the same thing. He would agree. He would say, you can send them through to make a report to the specific department that deals with neighborhood complaints, the neighborhood liaison, basically, that they can go talk to. And if it's an ongoing issue that it escalates, because we don't know if it escalates, they're the ones that are going to deal with it. He's like, we're not dealing with it. We don't take a report. And that's logical to me. That's taking the files and getting so much of that and being like, that's just logical. That's the subjective area that, I go to staff sergeant with his 40 years experience sometimes and be like, kids are fine. Like, in his opinion, he's like, they could be doing something far worse. They're standing around in a park on the side in private having a talk. What's wrong with that?
Before. We were just sitting at like a public park. And it's like a park zone too. It's 30 kilometers an hour. We're not doing anything crazy. Yeah. We're all parked up. We were at the park. We have been like loud-ish because there's like 6 or 7 of us. Yeah. But and then as I was leaving, I was just going down, and then there's a cop coming up the hill because someone called the police. I pull over. They're like, "Have you been drinking at this park and racing your car up and down the street and stuff?" I'm like, "There's speed bumps here. No one's racing." Because he's like, yeah, we had people say that these cars were racing up the street.
It's the reports that come in. I've had the reports saying the cars are street racing. And I'm like, how fast do you think they're going? I don't know, but there's racing and I don't want them on my street. Yeah. I'm like, well, do you have evidence that they've been street racing? Well, no, but I shouldn't have to give that to you. My word should count. Yeah. Some neighbors will have that perspective. I've taken those calls. And then if I didn't have the the thought process to maybe be like, I'm going to make sure the officer knows there's no actual evidence that there's street racing.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else, street racing on this street, blah, 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 blah. Officer sent out straight away with the assumption there's confirmed street racing going on. That's the easy disconnect that can happen. Obviously, I'm into the enthusiast scene, so when I was taking those files, I'm like, is there actual evidence that they're doing that? Because if they're on a side road doing that, sure, we'll send an officer, cut it out. It's even if it's late, it's neighborhood's right there. Go do it on a farm road, man. Go do it by fields, no animals, no houses, no one. You're not bothering anybody.
Yeah, they always told me just go to the racetrack and mission.
Yeah.
I've been pulled over a few times doing stuff like that. So yeah,
And I mean, I go mission. I always have fun there.
yeah, mission's awesome.
So bringing this back around, well, I want to get your opinion on where do we, as enthusiasts, with everything we've spoken about, so maybe not necessarily always stereotyping our skin color or our age or our gender, it's three different ballparks. It's the car type we're driving. When you're driving on the highway, and if you're driving, a sports car, you're probably going to be looking in your mirror, looking far ahead to see if there's police, and be like, I'm just going to turn off, or, oh, there's a police car 3 cars behind me. You're just constantly worried that because of the car you're driving, you're going to be pulled over, right? If I'm driving my car, I'm thinking that. If I'm driving my Ram 3500, I'm not thinking that at all.
Yeah.
I don't even have a thought that comes to my
100%.
mind that I'm going to be pulled over. Both cars are legal for the road. Doesn't matter, right? That's the sad perception it's come to. You guys agree with that?
Definitely.
For sure.
So what is the solution there in your mind?
I think education.
On whose part?
The law enforcement and even us too.
I agree.
Like,
I think it's both parts.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, we are accountable for what has happened. No doubt about it. But at the same time, it's got a point where now another party now is overreacting, and that we could all just probably be better educated ourselves. They could probably pull some accounting things and throw some more funding into the traffic police for sure on sort of identifying a car that would be unsafe for the road. If we're talking if there was a Mustang, a new S550, a 2019 Mustang GT that was a little bit louder, it was lowered or whatnot, and it was cruising by, I would say that car is still safe for the road because there's nothing on the car that is essentially going to hurt somebody else dramatically if there was an accident. And a modified exhaust, your car still has an exhaust. It's not going to change how dangerous it is. If anything, the exhaust will just make other drivers more aware that you're there on the road for them.
It's like a bike, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It needs to be loud.
It needs to be
it's for your own safety to let someone next to you know, hey, you heard me.
Yeah, but if I saw a car that someone's pulled into the garage and chopped the roof off, I got a convertible now, that vehicle is unsafe for the road. There are structural parts of that vehicle that are no longer intact.
I feel like you're speaking from experience.
No. I haven't seen this yet. I haven't seen something like this yet. But if you cut the roof off a vehicle, then it's not safe to drive.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is you feel like it comes down to actual safety on the
actual
road.
modifications on a vehicle that makes it less safe for other drivers on the road. I mean, it's arguable that some of the modifications make it less safe for the driver. But in that case, how skilled is the driver? Because power mods, you just have more power in your car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if based on that safety discussion for the road, what about all the cars that are super stanced out with the wheels cambered in? Should that be legal for the road? Should that be fine, or does that get pulled over?
I feel like you want to
I feel like every car is different, I feel like it's almost in the expression of someone's personality in a way.
It is. I agree with that.
And so say your car, it's all wide bodied, all this crazy horsepower, and then there might be that one guy with the RX-7, which is stanced out, or drift mobile or something like that. Everyone has different stuff, right? And I feel just people should have better education, like Aiden was saying, in the police force and us as well. But on the police side of things, I feel maybe an extra course or two to learn about exhaust or all that type of stuff. the lowered laws, all that, and then
Lowered cars is a big thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you were saying, the standstill cars, that type of stuff. I feel like it's not really a danger to like the public, let's
Yeah.
say, but it might be a little bit harder to drive for you. It might be a little bit harder to go up a little ramp.
Wear out your tires a little
wear
bit
out your
quicker.
tires, yeah.
I think that's where it comes down to. I think closing the gap, education on both parts, community discussion on, if you had 4 or 5 enthusiasts, maybe it's the crew team that talked to certain members of the RCMP in a conference to explain this is the gap right now. This is the perception from the entire automotive community enthusiasts. We need to close this gap so we actually start working together and make every situation smooth. I feel like there's something like that needs to come forward in some way, shape, or form, because right now it's just not working. It's not working at all right
Should
now.
we work on a crew event with the RCMP?
We could. I mean, we do have plans to actually do a crew event rally with the RCMP. I know we sponsored Porter Ranch Exotics over in California. They do a lot of stuff with the LAPD, Sheriff's Department. They're escorted around. They abide by every single law. They actually donate a lot of money to the Sheriff's Foundation there. He's talked about that in a massive way on how it's closed the gap with enthusiasts, supercar owners, and the policing department there, that everyone wants to work together. That culture there, at least in that specific area, they're very, very working together. That's where it starts off.
Mm-hmm.
So crew will go down the path of working with RCMP, VPD, Delta Police, Abbotsford Police. We'll go down the path of trying to work with all of them to close that gap for our community, because that's what we're about.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I got to say a big thank you for being here today. Love the talk.
Thanks for having me.
I'm gonna give a tidbit to episode 3 that's coming in a few weeks. Hopefully it's episode 3, maybe 4, depending on timeline. But we're gonna have 2 gentlemen here that actually have direct contact with Officer Hermes, had their cars in a bad situation with him, that are going to be able to provide some very valuable feedback in an honest form of what actually happened in those situations. You don't want to miss that. Thank you again from crew here. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.